Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you're currently in. Thank you for joining this week's Forge Partner Talks webinar. My name is Sanjana Chand. I am the Forge Developer Marketing Manager and the current host of this series. Our partners will be sharing short demos of their solutions, and I invite you to please submit any questions you have for them using the Q&A tab. We will address your questions at the end of the panel session. This webinar will be recorded, and we will share that recording with each of you once it's available. Today, our topic is building and facility management. We have 4 incredible panelists for you today, all of whom have built and implemented solutions that bring together building data, models, and equipment in a cloud-based environment using Forge. Each of these solutions help customers simplify tracking and reporting all of the data created by facility management tools and applications, and really focus on improving productivity of facility managers and the accuracy of smart building implementation. So let's meet our panelists. First, we have Varun of nCircle. Varun, can you give a quick introduction of yourself and your company?
Sure, Sanjana. I'm Varun Bhartiya, CEO and co-founder of nCircle Tech, a company established to enable passionate innovators in AEC and manufacturing industry to create impactful 3D engineering and construction solutions. Leveraging our domain expertise in CAD BIM, we provide solutions that reduce time to market and meet business goals. We aim to provide our customers with ease of development along with time and cost savings so that they can focus on things that matter more. We are a team of 110 people located in Pune and have served many Autodesk customers as one of the first system integrators of Forge. Happy to be part of today's session along with our customer Bill. And thank you for having us, Sanjana.
Thank you, Varun. As Varun mentioned, he's joined by Bill Kilp of FaciliCAD. Bill, care to introduce yourself?
Bill,
I think you're on mute.
As many times as I've practiced this. I have over 30 years as a CAD CAFM consultant. And during that time, I was an Autodesk registered AEC independent consultant. Say that 3 times fast. I was also a reseller for a major player in the CAFM world and frustrated with the solutions that were available in terms of complexity and cost. So FaciliCAD was actually born in a diner in New Hampshire 20 years ago with another consultant over some eggs and coffee. And we debuted the product in 2001 at AU. So 20 years later, the product has evolved, but FaciliCAD 2021 products are surely a rebirth indeed.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. We also have Martin from Acula. Martin?
Hello. Hi, everybody. So I was playing with my background settings and it's upside down. So I'll try to fix it later. My name is Martin. I'm the CEO of Acula. And we are a 3D visualization platform that provides very quick conversion into augmented reality. We are integrated with the Autodesk BIM 360. We're having a wonderful time with all our construction clients and architects as we are converting a lot of their 3D model into AR, helping with their workflow. I think that's sufficient for a brief introduction. I'll have a few slides and videos to show what we actually do on site.
Great. Thank you, Martin. And last but not least, Bandhu from UTech Cybernetics.
Thank you, Sanjana. First of all, thanks for having us. I'm Bandhu Avlarachi. It's a difficult name to pronounce. So you can just remember Bandhu part, that's easy enough. I'm Chief Technology Officer of UTech Cybernetics. My background is electrical engineering and software development. Company, UTech Cybernetics, we are providing solutions for smart buildings and smart cities field. So we provide complete solutions sometimes. Sometimes we provide products for partners to build such solutions.
Great. I'd actually like to start with you, Bandhu. So can you give us a bit of a deeper dive into the UTech solution?
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, we built a product using Autodesk Forge. What it does is it allows us to implement a smart building solution on top of a set of BIM models. We call it IVIVA Smart BIM. Here is how it works. So, okay. So we pick a BIM model from BIM 360 docs, open it in Smart BIM, select an element, and bind it with a real world entity. In this case, it's a fan coil unit. I can search for it by its ID and bind it manually, or we could ask Smart BIM to automatically bind it using equipment ID stored in the BIM element properties. Once we have done that, now Smart BIM allows us to search for them and quickly go to where it is, and more importantly, access everything around it, monitor equipment, control them, and also perform transactions in enterprise applications. As we can see here, Smart BIM allows us to connect the BIM with everything in the building, IoT, building subsystems, applications. Before I jump into the next part, I want to clarify this term, smart building, which is a relative term, as you all know. And also, what's smart today may not be considered smart tomorrow. So how do we build a smart building solution that remains smart? Think of your smartphone. So it remains smart because we can keep inventing new things to do with it. All what we have to do, go to App Store and download a new app. Now phone can do something new. Same thing applies to smart building. If you want to keep it smart for a longer time, it has to be ready to accept new software components on the fly. This is how we do it in Smart BIM. I have selected an element that represents a facility. Now I go and look for a software component that's compatible with this particular element. So this is similar to going to App Store to look for an app for our phone. So I see here a workflow that can control lights and AC based on booking status. I'm going to apply that. So now I'm going to drag and drop the equipment that I want this workflow to control. That's it. Now I update it, deploy it. Now from here onwards, if somebody books this room, this facility, workflow will automatically turn on light and the air conditioning. You can see that on the CCTV stream. Similarly, when the booking is completed, it will turn them off to save energy. If you rather build your own workflows, you can do that. You can do that with Lucy, which is our integration modeling platform. That way you can add your custom logic to your building whenever you want them. Lucy also allows you to create connectors to any new device or application that you might encounter. So that's a quick summary of IVIVA Smart BIM.
Awesome, thank you, Bandhu. Can you go a little bit more into some of the Forge APIs you leveraged?
Yes, we are using Viva heavily. So previously, so most of the part is in the Viva. We also use model derivative APIs because we want to translate the data. These are all independent of the BIM types, whether it's a Revit model or something else. So we use model derivative APIs to do the translation, and then we were to display them.
Great. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about your specific end users and some specific use cases. I know you just showed one very specific, but who are your typical users?
Yeah, that's a that's a good question. I think industry is still trying to figure out the use cases for taking BIM to operations. It's something that everybody wants to do, but I think it's not mainstream yet. We have seen some of our customers do things, for example, incident management. So being able to go to the incident location in the BIM and being able to access everything around it. For example, if we have a CCTV, we can go and check what's actually going on at that moment, turn on the lights to make it easier to see, release a door lock. These comes in very handy when we want to manage an incident. Another use case is in concierge services. When a tenant calls in and complain about something, being able to look at tenant space and being able to access everything in that space empowers the agent. Another use case that we have seen is in facility booking and hot desking, especially in workplace environment. For example, if I want to book a desk next to where my friends sit, that's something easier to do with something like a BIM. So those are some of the use cases that we have seen.
Great, thank you so much, Bandhu. I'd like to move to Martin next. Martin, can you share a demo with us?
Yep, definitely. So thank you, Bandhu, actually, for a wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed that, and I think we can discuss together some potential collaboration. I think I might have some customers that would love.
That's great.
We are Ocular. Let me know when you start seeing my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
Good, fantastic. So just few slides for you, really, and a couple of videos. So we are a cloud-based visualization platform run on Unity. So we turn all of the 3D models that we get from our clients into Unity servers that gets processed by our algorithms. And we're integrated with BIM 360, so the construction part of the construction cloud. We won a number of awards. We have some really, really cool customers that we love, including Alpha Corporation. I'll show you a video of that. We started with Boston Properties, JBG Smith, some of the biggest developers on the East Coast, Plugzal, that's the Long Island City redevelopment, and some of the biggest architects in the world, including KPF and others. Fiesmann is a large asset management company. It's a large heating and cooling company. And I'm thinking of asset management in connection to your platform, Bandhu. So we can discuss that. Basically, just to show a few things we do. So the ability to really get you a very nice 3D model on the spot. So this is the 3D model. So we use augmented reality for that, just phones or tablets. This is the 3D model from BIM 360. We've got a studio as well that beautifies it, and then the rest is reality. Yeah. So it saves time, it helps you make better decision, and it engages your operations team. Let me show, without further ado, some of the videos. Let's see if I can run this one. Yep.
Hi, I'm Sophia, a designer working with Alpha Corporation on our latest immersive architecture configurator.
I'll do full screen, see if that works. So here you can configure BIM model in augmented reality. Yeah, so this is a Revit model. We actually processed a point cloud from a 3D scan, and then we broke it down into elements and added items, and now it's configurable. So you can configure your 3D model. And then, this is particularly for a training center, and then you can walk through it in augmented reality. So just with a click of a button, you basically are in it. And you can check whether everything that is supposed to be there is actually there, and things like that. So this is my colleague, Sophia. And this is Alpha Corporation. So we call this immersive architecture configurator. Another one would be the underfloor cabling, things like that. Airflow modeling, where we take dynamic data sets or static data sets with historical. So this is a runway where you're actually looking at the data of the anchors, and you see the historical data. So these are anchors within the concrete structure, all the way to animated autonomous robots, which actually use the BIM models from BIM 360 to learn their path. So this is a retirement home being serviced by an autonomous robot that is invented by our client Crosswing. And so what we're doing is we're providing the 3D environment for this robot to learn its path. So this is AI, basically machine learning, reinforced learning. And so instead of training based on a real environment, you can train them remotely and then deploy them immediately. So all these kind of things are possible with augmented reality or actual 3D models converted into something that is viewed in augmented reality. So this is one of our biggest projects. It's under an NDA, so I cannot say much. It's by GLY, which is a big BIM 360 user, and a major project of theirs, using this for overlays, semi-transparent overlays, 2D and 3D overlays on site. This is a huge project, dozens of buildings, right? So it can work on a large scale, as well. And going into asset management and Fissmann, for your sake, Bandhu, I'll show this one because it's really cool and something we can maybe do together, where you've got, for training purposes, an AR model, so everything else is real except for this boiler that is decomposing, right? And so instead of having technicians come to a location, they actually just share an interactive, and you can actually stand within and around it, and train and get acquainted with how this new model, for instance, is particularly the latest model of Fissmann heat pump, can be serviced, with the 12 major components that they've got there. And I've got a number of more, videos and all kinds of stuff, including, modular construction and using the BIM models for MEP and an actual creation of configuration of modular buildings. I don't think we have enough time, but if we do later on, I can show more. I just end with this one, where you can create a modular building on the location right there from your BIM 360. So we've got the BIM 360 library, BIM 360 documents. We've got the library card. We've got a card in the library. You can just open an Ocular card and take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. I love to see the collaborative wheels turning already with you and Bandhu.
Yeah.
Are you done with your solution?
I'm done with my, I've got many more, but I don't want to steal the, the floor for too long. So whenever there are questions, I can come back.
Okay, great. On that note, make sure that you submit your questions via the Q&A tab for all of our panelists, and we will get to them at the end of the session. And with that, let's move to Varun and Bill.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen.
Before he starts the video, Martin and Bandhu are hard acts to follow, so I'll try not to disappoint. I just want to point out that the information that's displayed in FaciliCAD Web, which is the product that we're going to be showing, is a combination of graphics from a Forge file and live data from a Microsoft SQL Server database. So we can start the video. So to prepare the graphic files, we use our desktop application to assign the required discipline drawings to be converted. Things like the architectural drawing, electrical, HVAC, and fire protection, for example. Once assigned, we simply select Forge Publish. At that time, the discipline drawings are combined into one AutoCAD file, and then they're sent to the Autodesk Forge server for conversion. Once converted, the file is sent back to FaciliCAD Web for use. As you can see, it's a very quick process. So let's talk about a few different scenarios. First, we're going to pick an employee that we're using a wayfinder. And with that, the employee form appears with different information about that employee, email, phone extension, things like that, along with the location. Once the location is selected, the floor opens and the room is highlighted. Now, what happens if I want to move that employee? From our data manager, I'm going to select Move Employee. I'm going to select myself. It shows my location, and then I'm going to change my destination. Once I change the destination, I can pick an Oregon Fur rule, and then I select Move. You can see that my new location is shown in the database. Now let's look at the drawing viewer. Again, I'm going to select a younger, thinner, and more clean-cut version of myself. And you can see that I've been moved to room 103 as I was in the database. So let's talk about creating and applying some custom queries. So we can either create ad hoc queries or reports. We're going to do an ad hoc query today. I'm going to select a room name for my condition of conference room. And once I've applied that, I can execute the query. My results are shown below. I have the ability to either apply the query to the current drawing, or I can export to Excel, a CSV file. But then I can also select a hot link from the results below. So in this case, I'm going to pick room 235A. It opens the floor plan and again highlights the room. I also have the ability to export and import saved queries. So I'm going to clear that first query. Excuse me. And I'm going to import a previously saved query. In this case, an asset of personal computer that's in the main building. Once again, once I've set my condition, I execute. Results are shown below. I select my hot link, and again, the floor is opened and the room is highlighted. Let's talk about accessing both graphic and tabular reports using that live data. So again, I'm going to select a room type from my predefined thematics of conference room, just like the query that I just created. I could highlight all room types, of course. And excuse me, another example would be an organizational thematic, cost centers that are assigned to various rooms. Most commonly in space planning, of course, is an occupancy report. So along with my graphic reports, we also have standard Crystal report templates that are accessible. In this case, I'm going to pick a companion report of vacant rooms that are offices, workstations, and cubicles. Once I select it, the report is displayed. It can be exported or printed to a PDF file, of course. Lastly, let's talk about printing results of graphic displays. I'll pick the second floor of my main building. Once I select the floor, because of Forge, I now have full layer control, which we did not in our previous web app. So I can turn layers on and off as I wish. I also have the ability to turn on and off those discipline drawings that we talked about earlier in the desktop application. Once I've selected my desired results for display, of course, I can print this by selecting Export to PDF, different characteristics. The file is then sent to a PDF and saved. That concludes my demo.
And as you can see, just to add, we made a very heavy use of Forge Viewer to customize it and hatch patterns and visualization. But it has been always fun working with Forge.
Absolutely.
Great. You read my mind. That was going to be my next question. So can you go into some of the specific users that you've seen use these applications?
Yeah. So our user base is small facilities managing 100,000 square feet up to Fortune 500 facilities managing over 12 million. Types of facilities would be offices, healthcare, manufacturing, education, R&D, government agencies, anything that's managing space and people. Specific use cases, there's an architectural firm that we're working and partnering with, Berner Schober and Associates. Because of FaciliCAD Web, they're able to extend their revenue throughout their buildings, the building life cycle. They have the ability to collaborate with clients using live data now. The client can also control some of that data without having software installed. So it's a browser-based application. They can change cost centers, move people, things like that. Another use, we have an insurance company, Markel, that we're working with that have offices all over the country. And they're using FaciliCAD for space planning and people management predominantly, using our wayfinding abilities for help desk and IT. Lastly, I'll talk about Hennepin County, a medical center. They're using FaciliCAD for chargeback reports for reimbursement. Environmental services, planning their needs for the cleaning services. Joint area commission inspections are very important, and they use FaciliCAD to help them with that.
Great, thank you, Bill. And Martin, I didn't mean to skip you with that question. I know you went into some of the use cases, but if you'd like to highlight any more, please do.
Yeah, sure. So, basically, when you think of an augmented reality overlay onto the, the projection of the 3D model onto reality, you use it for a number of things throughout the entire value chain, AEC value chain. So in the design and planning, you use it to just check, the size and the conceptual, you want to see the conceptual rendering in its future surrounding, to understand the height, to understand maybe the shades, things like that, just to see how it feels. Then as you move on through the permission process, you are onboarding the stakeholders and the municipality, the planning committee, on with your 3D model, maybe a bit more refined, or still even just massing models, to help you get approvals. That's how our clients typically use it in this kind of pre-construction phase. And then construction companies, they're bidding with these AR models. Imagine where they would bid for a project. A GC would bid for a major project with a large developer, let's say Boston Properties. They've got a much better chance of showing up and presenting an augmented reality model versus just a PowerPoint, right? So that's another use before you break ground. And then once you do, you can start laying out with the AR. You can check progress, you track issues, you resolve issues on site, you streamline your processes in such a way that you can save several steps, in fact, and to save several people traveling to the site, in order to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be at the time where it's supposed to be. So we also support 4D, so not just 3D, but also 3D plus time, making it 4D. And then, very important thing, after you are, in construction and you've done all your checking and you've delivered your project excellence, because everybody is on board with the BIM manager. We use this with real estate developers a lot to actually sell and to promote the properties. We use it for a lot of, office leasing support. We work with a lot of industrial developers, helping to accommodate to their clients' needs and to really walk them through remotely the 3D model. And of course, once you are done with your occupancy and you've got people using the building, what I've shown you with Alpha Corporation, that's for asset management. So making sure you've got the right equipment, you double check whether the as-is state is actually what is written down and marked in the asset management system, location-wise and of course, items-wise. So that's pretty much, and then, digital twins. So digital twins with all kinds of integrations, and that's where I see collaboration with Bandhu. We've got increasing amount of customers that require digital twins for asset management purposes. And there you can walk through them. Well, that's one thing, but then also all the integrations that you can do with the digital twin. I think Bandhu's platform is amazing for that.
Great. Thank you, Martin. And I want to open up the questions to all of you. And first, I'm really curious about some of the biggest challenges you faced in implementing or delivering these applications. And Bandhu, I'd like to start with you. We haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, sure. Of course, there are many challenges, but I think there's one worth discussing in this forum is when we think of taking a BIM to operations in a smaller building or a workplace, there's not much technical challenge there. So there are a lot of components out there. Even you can find a code in Autodesk site that's good enough to get something set up. But the problem there is value of the BIM is not going to stay on for a long time, because users are going to remember eventually where things are. And most of them will find searching for something or picking something from a list is far more efficient than trying to locate something in a BIM. So the challenge there is it's easy to implement, but challenging to retain. On the other hand, when you look at a complex building, airport, hospital, shopping complex, or a precinct with multiple buildings, the value of the BIM is not going to go away, because it's a huge knowledge base and it's definitely useful for operations. It's going to stay on. But the challenge is technical. We can't load the entire BIM. We will have to load, unload models on the fly, come up with a smarter way to navigate without having to walk through the BIM, which is not an easy thing to do if we had tried. And then more importantly, fetch and bring only related data for that particular operations. We can't bring everything into the BIM because it's too big. And also make sure that the user who is logged into the system has authority to access that information. So we can't show everything to everybody. So these are some of the challenges that we see, the two ends of the spectrum.
Have you noticed any kind of resistance to adopting solutions like this within the facility management world?
I think that one issue is the data privacy issue that keeps coming up, because this is a controversial topic actually, because there are a lot of consultants who are still thinking more old-fashioned way, and they specify that asset data and FM data has to be embedded in the BIM. So in a complex building, parts of the different parts of the operation is outsourced to different entities. So if the data is embedded in the BIM, it becomes an extremely challenging job to control who can see what. So what we advise to our customers is not to keep the data in the BIM, but keep the metadata in the BIM. For example, keep your asset data in your asset register, but keep the asset ID in the BIM. So if that asset data is required for a particular operation, we can fetch it on the fly and bring it over and merge it with the BIM, so that we can provide a seamless user experience while keeping the data private. This is one of the concerns a lot of customers have, and in many cases, we have advised them to keep the data in their private servers without having them in the public servers if they are really concerned about it.
Thank you. That's fair. Does anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah, sure. About really building the application and especially around using the Forge. It was a one level of challenge to accurately represent the data with various hatch patterns, being able to visualize, and really facility management involves also updating and editing the data. So we did add a lot about visualization of such data together. Not to mention just combining all the data from different disciplines and being creating custom layers to access all that information, making it readily available for all the users to access as required. About data privacy, I think, Bill, do you want to add that?
Sure. As Bendu said, we had some challenges with various clients. We deal with a lot of government contractors and entities who had concerns about where their data was being stored. So in this particular release of FaciliCAD, it's an on-premise installation. So that really the only communication with the outside world is through the conversion to the Autodesk Forge server. Then it's brought back to the premises for use. And even that was a concern, but to some people as far as communicating outside their network. Autodesk security people have been awesome in helping us or supporting us and helping to make the clients feel more comfortable with that technology. Moving forward, I mean, this is a release 1 product. In release 2, there's several things that we're looking at doing, one of which is creating a true cloud-based solution where the data and the application are actually accessed in the cloud. And then we'll give that as an alternative solution to the on-premise. So, I mean, as much as cloud's probably more secure than people's own networks, but, like anything else, it's hard to make people understand that and buy into it, but they're getting there.
Definitely. Martin, how about you?
So on our side, we don't have many, we don't have much concerns about data privacy. I mean, we've seen very educated audience in this sense, and the cloud's been here for a while. We're using the most secure Firebase and AWS environment with end-to-end encryption with the mobile application, and the 3D models are loaded through BIM 360 mainly. So directly to our cloud. So from data security standpoint, we don't see many issues or red flags from our customers. What I do see sometimes, basically this is a new technology, so we don't have people that actually say, well, we don't need this, or we don't think we need this. But we do have people that say, well, I'm not sure this is the right time. Maybe it's too early. We're not there yet. We don't even have 3D models. So what I end up doing sometimes, I need to create a team of graphic designers and engineers, BIM modelers, really, that help create the 3D models where those are not present. And so that way, I'm also helping the industry to move forward in terms of digitalization and building information modeling, which is I think, important contribution. And this whole digital twin business is about that, really. I mean, you need to create more or less detailed 3D models in order to do all kinds of use cases and facilitate all kinds of use cases with those. So I think that's a step that needs to be taken. Otherwise, AR is a great technology, and I mean, AR or any other digital visualization, be it just 3D viewing and other things, for a range of use cases as I've described before.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we have a couple more questions before we move into our audience questions. This is a generally popular one. How has the current pandemic affected your business and the demand for an application like this? And how long do you see that shift continuing? Whoever wants to take it first, feel free to take it first.
I can take it. Interesting enough, COVID-19 hit us right smack in the middle of our development cycle. And I initially had concerns about creating and selling a product that is based on managing space and people, when a lot of people are now working from home and they're not in the brick and mortar. As it turns out, it was helpful for us in our design, again, working with that insurance company. For them, it was useful working from home because no software needed to be installed. And they didn't need to use a remote desktop or a VPN connection to get to their data. But it was also useful in the reintegration process. We've developed some tools that are helpful for highlighting various employees who are critical or maybe phase 1 or phase 2. So then they can see it in an actual model and see how the close proximity is. As far as how long, it's hard to say. I mean, I think a lot of people like working from home and maybe will stay that way. And then there's a lot of people that really hate it. So it'll be interesting to see what the new normal brings us.
Absolutely. Bandhu and Martin, care to add anything?
Yeah, sure. When the pandemic hit us, of course, it was a negative impact because our customers lost their revenue, so projects got delayed and it impacted us. But now the customers are coming back. One thing we are seeing in pretty much all the customers in our field, they are wondering how space utilization going to shape up within next year or two, because we are going to learn lessons we are going to apply lessons we learned during COVID-19, and change the way that the offices are going to run and how spaces are going to be used post COVID-19. So a lot of people asking us the question is that because we are particularly in the operation side, the question is that how flexible your system is, because can we change it when these things start changing shape? So I think from that perspective, the companies like us, I think, will have a positive impact.
Yeah. From our standpoint, we've seen a big increase in demand for remote visualization, obviously, post the breakout of the pandemic in the spring. There's been need and there's been demand before, but after March or April, there is no discussion about the need. That helped us a lot. Having said that, it's still not as fast as we would wish, and there's still a lot of education to be made within the industry, but I think it's heading definitely the right direction. And I've read several reports from different companies in the AEC space, which spoke about 50-60% year-over-year growth in terms of building digitization, which is good, and so I think we're in the right wave here.
Absolutely. I want to touch briefly on this. What's next? What can we see in the near future for your company?
Well, we have a very clear roadmap in terms of. Sorry, Varun, did you want to speak? Okay. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. So we've got a very clear roadmap. We have a robust platform. We are going to do a few more integrations within the Forge, and closely working with Unity, and basically delivering seamless experience. So currently you need some manual adjustments on some of the 3D models. What we're hoping to achieve is automatic conversion of all the 3D models into AR or any other kind of visualization, where you can really in real time, and that's a 5G use case, where you can really in real time go and see how your 3D model is evolving in space, and therefore blur the boundary between 3D and real. Because you can check, you can overlay, you can see the latest development. People can adjust stuff on the fly. That's where I want to be. Be it holograms, AR, whatever technology, we want to make sure we facilitate that.
It definitely sounds exciting.
Yeah, and together with Autodesk and Unity, so
Absolutely. Varun?
I think Bill can take that question from us.
Yeah. Well, again, because of Forge and the flexibility with different file types, we're looking at, but right now we're an AutoCAD based product, but we'll be looking at Revit compatibility in our next release. We're also going to be able to do graphic edits in the Forge model. At first, we were thinking about pulling in AutoCAD in the cloud, but now we don't really need to do that because of Forge. So we can actually place people and assets using the technologies in Forge. And then we talked earlier about the cloud-based solutions as well.
And just to add, I think Bill just shared a news with me that he's getting paid from his customers probably 6 months in advance. So they are just like eagerly waiting to see what's more is coming in FaciliCAD. Good that you shared that, Bill.
That's awesome. Bandhu, how about you? What's next for you, Tech?
Yes, I think technology-wise, we are following Forge roadmap closely, trying to see what's more relevant to us and keep adapting that. For example, that now SVF2 is coming up, and then we hope that will enhance the ability to handle large BIM files, large BIM models. And also we are waiting to see how Forge data is going to probably help us solve the other issue that I mentioned, is the data privacy issue. Make sure that only right people can see the right kind of data. But on the application side, on the product management side, I think Bill will agree with me that it's much easier to quickly show some demonstration how things work, but actually finding viable use cases that industry is willing to pay money for, that's a real challenge. So we have been doing this for a while, but a lot of people still use this more like a good to have, nice to have. So we are desperately looking for aggressive use cases that can actually work in large, complex building environment.
Great, excellent. Now, very last question, I promise, before we get into audience questions, and I'm hoping this can be a pretty quick one. But can you offer any words of wisdom, any advice for anyone else trying to build a solution or even implement something like this?
From sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought it was open. Go ahead, Bandhu, if you want to.
No, I think that I was just trying to emphasize my last point. I think that my advice to anybody building a Forge solution is that look at both sides. One is the technology side, which is one of the challenges. But the bigger challenge is actually looking for business use cases. So when you find that, that will be the goal.
Okay. And some advice from our side, we developed number of applications using Forge, and we've seen a mix of people using Forge for very basic functionality, viewing capabilities, to very advanced, where they're doing so much more into Forge and everything. Autodesk does provide lots and lots of samples. Do take a look at that and make use of their help. And at the same time, if all the 3D interactions is at the center of your application and everything, do consider spending good amount of time either building expertise in-house or working with partner like us that can help you, because that makes the solution really robust. It can help you with, there are many factors that can affect things, the costing, various things. All of that should be accounted as you have counted or factored in as you're planning your application and building that.
Absolutely. Martin?
Yes. Sorry, could you repeat? Yes, sorry, could you
That's
repeat?
Okay. It was just if you had any words of wisdom or advice for anybody else trying to build a solution. But we are getting close to time, so we can absolutely open it up to audience questions as well.
Yeah, let's open to questions. That's fine.
Okay. I'd like to bring in Natalia Polikopova on the Forge team to help us get these questions answered. Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all the panelists. It's been a great discussion. And we know that facility management is such a broad topic with so many different aspects. So one of the questions we had was like, anything else where you see that this can be applied? Maybe, I don't know, cleaning, maybe something else. So it's really kind of a lot behind this terminology, right? So anyone wants to respond to that?
Well, it's facility management is a very broad term indeed. And excuse me, in our case, our solution is a CAFM solution. So it's a computer aided facility management solution, which most people, when they think of that, they're thinking in terms of managing space, people, and assets, which is what we do. But obviously, there's the building management aspect of it, outside of just managing space. And so I mean, there's CAFM solutions, there's CMMS solutions for preventative maintenance. There's the solutions like these gentlemen have presented. So yeah, it's a broad term, and there's many aspects of it.
Yeah, it's about money. It's also the same in Slovakia, right? Yeah. They say if your left hand is itching, you're actually gonna it's a lot of money. But if it's the right hand, you're gonna pay. You're gonna cash in because of left hand.
I think, Martin, you have to mute your phone. Or is it the noise coming from?
I'm not sure where that's.
Yeah, that's from Martin. And by the way, while Will, you were talking, there was also a question on.
I was muted.
Yeah, there's a question on PDF printing.
I did see that, and I'm assuming that the question goes beyond just pushing the button. It's the technology behind it. Are our email addresses available for people from this?
Yeah, absolutely. We can take it. Yeah,
because
we can follow
if
up
somebody,
with that later.
I saw that question came up, and if that person sends me an email, I'll pass that on to the developers, and I'm sure that's what they're asking. And I'm sure that
if that's the question, in short, I mean, Forge Viewer does provide capability to add a lot of extensions to the viewer. So what we did is effectively add an extension that can extract information from the viewer and put that into a PDF file. But like Bill said, if you want to discuss more, we can have a discussion.
wow. And the owner of the business knew that. I'm impressed.
All right.
Great.
And maybe one more question, Sanjana, before we wrap it up.
Sure, go ahead. One
Or
more.
anybody else, Martin, Bandhu, if you want to kind of talk broader on the facility management aspects, where you see this applied as well.
Yeah, I saw in the chat window that a lot of questions about IFC. I'm not sure that from what product this was aimed at, but if I speak for my product, we use anything that Forge Viewer is able to present. So there are 60-70 formats, I believe, and IFC is one of them. So we have, in fact, done demos with IFC files to customers, but to be honest, I don't have a IFC-based customer at the moment, one who is actually running a building. But in terms of technology, I think the Forge does a very good job with handling IFC.
Yeah. From my standpoint, the facility management, it's all about going digital, knowing what is where at this point, right? So we fully support building passportization with 3D models. I mean, that's where you need to get before you do anything else with your facility-driven decisions. I mean, otherwise you're just having a spreadsheet with or any more complicated system with your asset data without much intelligence on the data, because although you have algorithms and predictions and all kinds of condition-based maintenance or risk-based maintenance, you still cannot really grasp it in the context of where the where the data are. So you need to have a good 3D representation.
Great, thank you. Now we are actually at time. So thank you. I wanted to thank each of you for joining, for sharing your insights, and to the audience, thank you for engaging, participating, and listening. And please definitely join us in January for our next Partner Talk session. We will send out the recording later today when it's available. Make sure you bookmark the link, Forge Partner Talks. Natalia can show that up on the screen really quickly. And make sure you register for all future sessions. And we will see you after the holidays. This link right here, forge.autodesk.com/partnertalks is where you can find links to all recordings and register for future recordings. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, everyone.